Hi, everybody. Welcome to the September release notes for Genesys Cloud. I'm Edgar Quadra, Associate Consultant here at Star Telecom. Glad everyone is watching us today and to go over the release notes. So I'm going to jump right into them. I'm going to start with the September 7th release. Let's get in here and see what's going on. So the very first one is related to the communicate feature section, and most specifically around the security of your BYOC cloud trunks. And Genesys did the renewal for TLS. So it's just a type of transport protocol, a secure transport protocol that Genesys yearly or at a particular time, they renew that certificate. So no action need to be done by any of you and or your BYOC partner. That's handled by Genesys. So us at Star Telecom, we just work with them and it gets managed accordingly. Okay, so the next one is the contact center, and it's queue administration, the user interface improvements. So I've gone in here. I'm sure some of you already have seen the configuration of the queues is slightly changed, more in line with some of the newer menus that they have. So it's just new updates and rearrangement of the structure. So if we get in here and take a look at it, so under admin and we go to queues, this is a new view of the queues. So I'll give it a second here to load up. So this is a slightly new updated version of the queues. And if I jump into one of my queues here, you'll notice that the icons and everything slightly changed, a bit more clean, more streamlined. Let's say when you go to add new members, the option or the way to add new members is slightly different, a bit more in line with some of the other menu items. So just overall improvements and enhancements to administration of the queues. This next one, detected topics gamification metric. So it's actually quite interesting. Part of the gamification module for Genesys Cloud 3 or some of the add-ons there. You're now able to create a gamification metric that monitors the content or the text transcription topic section. So if I go into one of my profiles here and I go to metric and I want to add the topic here. So what this now does is you can add scores to specific keywords that are part of topics that you're creating. So again, let's say you develop you release a new product, a new service, and you have a whole campaign and you create topics and keywords that associate to that campaign, so a new product. Then you can set up particular gamification metrics and scores to see how often the agents are using those keywords during their conversations with their clients. So you can put that in here. You can select which topic you've pre-created various topics in here, and then you can add your scores, objectives to those particular topics. So again, encourages the new agents to go ahead and use a lot of the terminology that you develop for within the business there, and add objectives to that. So again, you can wrap that into their QA process. So very cool feature there. I'm actually very excited to start rolling it out to some of our clients here. Next one is set content topic action type added to digital rules for outbound digital campaigns. Man, these titles keep getting longer and longer. So this one here is, as an outbound administrator, especially for digital campaigns, so that's SMS and email, there's this concept of templates and campaign templates. So for email, for example, the outbound will go through the list and send out the email campaign and template that you've pre-created. Well, now within that list, you can set different rules to switch the type of template you want to send out to that contact. I think previously we would have to create separate campaigns for different templates that you want to send out. So think of it as a pre-sales campaign and let's say a post-sale campaign, outbound campaign. Well, now you can just streamline that, have one campaign, and based on the factors in the list, you can use the list to drive the type of template to send out. So very cool. Next is just an API change to the Google Fonts. So very straightforward. So just an update there to that API. Okay, and that covers off September 7th, 2022. First one is for the collaborate features, and this is a simple update feature when you're using the video chat feature within Genesys Cloud here. When you actually have one active there, when someone leaves or joins your video chat, you'll get a notification on screen. So small little feature, but handy. Next is under the contact center. It's actually quite big for this week's September 14th release. And the very first one is Knowledge Performance Dashboard. This is actually very, very cool. So for those of you that are using the Knowledge Workbench within Genesys Cloud, that is pretty much a knowledge base repository that then can be used. So as you build your articles, as you build your knowledge articles, and you have different bots that help pull data when they're interacting with a live customer, or if you're just using that knowledge workbench as a knowledge base for your customers on your website, this now dashboard gives you performance metrics on how often certain knowledge base articles are being used by those various bots and tools. So here's just an example screenshot of what it looks like. So how often a knowledge base article up here has been used for self-serve options, or in general activities, how it's working, right? So this is a very powerful dashboard when it comes to analytics and to help your AI team to help troubleshoot and to see which ones are most effective, where we need updates to our knowledge base articles, where are there gaps, right? So examples of how this data is being driven. So you have a customer asking questions on a web widget on your website, frequently asked questions, just a section on your dashboard, or reads an article, and that article on your support page is being pulled from the workbench articles. So very powerful tool. If I go into then under performance views and workspace, and I go to, that's the actual knowledge base, but it's located under workspace and under the others section here under knowledge performance. You're able to open this up now, select which knowledge base you want to look at. So if I'm going to go to my IVR test team here, you can see this knowledge base article here section. And these are the stats around that. So very powerful, right? So you can do historical, you can see for previous days in which applications it's being used for under the support center, the bot flow, and that bot flow can be web and a voice bot as well. Okay, let's go back here. My interactions view for agents. So just an update to the next view here. So if I go under workspace and I go to my interactions here, you'll be able to actually see just interactions related as an agent, just interactions that I've been successfully connected to. So instead of getting displaying all the interactions that are coming into the contact center, this will only display the interactions that I've been personally involved in, part of, right? So then you can use the same filter features that we're used to. So filter by media, search by media. So if I want to go back, and I know I talked to that customer yesterday, but I can't quite remember their name, but I do remember their phone number ended with a specific 4 digits. I can go here under my interactions as an agent, and I can search by DNS, and that will pull up that record if I do remember some of those details, right? Even timeline. I talked to them maybe around yesterday, around this particular time. Use that, and that will greatly reduce the number of interactions, help you find that one that you're looking for as an agent. Okay, the next one is Genesys Messenger Conversation Auto Start. So with the Genesys web messaging tool, now when the tool gets launched on your website and someone clicks on it, the bot can automatically start the conversation. So, say hello, I see you're on this part of our website, or if they've already authenticated themselves, you can reference them by name. Hi, Jim, how can I help you today? And that's the auto start conversation feature that's in web messaging now. Audience size estimator for action maps in predictive engagement. So I'm no predictive engagement expert, but what this new feature does is when you create new triggers and actions through the predictive engagement tool, and you launch that and publish it on your website, what you can do is you can see how well that new trigger is going to perform based on historical data. So this is the new feature here. Very, very powerful tool for your predictive engagement administrator to see how well that new trigger is going to perform. If it's high or low, based on your particular business needs. You can use this to make further adjustments to those triggers. Is it going to be viable? Is it worth the effort to run a particular trigger on this particular side of the website, and so forth? So that's a new feature there that can be leveraged if you are active user of predictive engagement. Text regular expression slots for implementation. So when you're designing a bot flow within Genesys under the architect tool, you now have the ability to test your bot with some utterances, just a tool directly in the bot architect tool builder. So you're able to test that without having to rely on third-party tools to test those expressions. The next series of updates here, so for Amazon Lex, Google Cloud, Nuance, and another one here for Google, Genesys has now configured these to be PCI enabled. So basically what that means is these bots now can capture sensitive information such as credit cards and process credit card information directly from that particular bot, so the web bot or chat bot. So very cool. Maybe something, again, I can see as an implementer here at Star Telecom. Perhaps we can then transfer a caller or someone that's talking to an agent, transfer them to the bot, and let the bot capture that capture the credit card information, and then transfer it back to the agent. That's just I'm kind of spitballing here as a possible solution, but that's now what this new feature allows you to do is that bot to be able to capture sensitive information through and being PCI compliant. Okay. Next here, it's very, very useful for the community here as a large from Genesys, and that is the 988 suicide hotline number. So out of the box, without having to change any of the default dialing plans within Genesys Cloud, out of the box, if you type in 988 and press call, Genesys will automatically route to the suicide and crisis lifeline. Very, very powerful tool there. New feature. This next one is Genesys Messenger support for Portuguese, so new language support for Genesys Messenger, and then intent miner. So under the text speech and analytics, French language is now supported. So French France and French Canadian. Okay, and that is the release notes for September 14th, 2022. So here's now the September 21st, 2020 release notes for Genesys Cloud. Very first one under the contact center is single customer view powered by identity resolution available in select regions. So the goal of this new feature, oops, wrong link there, everybody. Sorry about that. The goal of this new feature is to be able to give the agent the ability to merge different contact types into one single external contact record. So what do I mean by that? So under Genesys Cloud, under external contacts, if you're using this, great, you know what it is. If not, then here you go. Here's your quick training. So the external contacts allows Genesys to keep track of all these contact instances under one single record. And so when a contact comes into the agent can link that interaction. So let's say the voice call or an email to this contact record, and then have a historical recollection of their contacts within Genesys Cloud. What this is now, this identity resolution single customer view is allowing us to do is allows you to merge not only voice calls, but emails and web events into one single contact record. So if that web event comes in and there's no email associated to it, so let's say it's just a guest browsing your website and they go to a live agent chat, that interaction, because you're not capturing the web widget for isn't capturing that email to link the interaction to, well, the agent can now do that and sync all those together into one interaction view. One thing to note is this customer single view is not division aware. So if you set up divisions within your contact center to segment data, that's good for reporting. But when it comes to the single customer view, it's not observing the divisions. So this customer view is able to, or that interaction is able to be at least have a record of it within from different viewed from different divisions. Okay. Predictive engagement outcome value configuration. So as of today's recording, this feature has been actually rolled back. There's a bug that's been detected. But basically what it is based on those outcomes that you configure within the predictive engagement, you can add a value to it. So from a business standpoint, that's very powerful. So you can see which triggers are going to be higher values. So let's target more of our segments, more of our audience to these particular triggers, and you can have a reporting all along regarding that. Extended voice transcription services. So as you know, for voice text analytics, Genesys uses its internal transcription engine to do that transcription of the voice to text. Well, now Genesys is extending that particular transcription to third-party transcription engine. So if you as a business, you currently use or subscribe to a third-party engine, and it may or may not have more features that Genesys doesn't, the Genesys default engine doesn't have, well, you can now use that third-party transcription engine to do the voice transcriptions, pass it back into Genesys, and we can see some of the subscription or see the sentiment analysis and all those tools associated to it. Currently, though, Genesys is only allowing English and Japanese transcription for third-party. So just to keep that aware of if you are using that. Agent status widget improvements. So it seems like a very simple one, and I think it is too, but under the performance status for agents, so if I go into performance and workspace and I look at my agent status view, these time in status and status columns you weren't able to remove them or hide them from this view before, but now you can. So I can go under status and that's gone. And I can go to time in status and now that's gone. So just a bit more functionality to the performance views. Web messaging, image copy and paste. So if you're using Genesys Messenger as your web widget within the tool, you can now, let's say, take a screenshot of this particular you can take a screenshot and then you can paste it directly into the web widget without previously you would have to take a screenshot or take an image, save it to your device, and then upload that via the attachment tool, the attachment window within the web tool. Now you can just copy and paste. Extended bot connector utterances response timeout. So for the bots and when you're doing post utterances, there was a default timeout request. Well, now if based on your development needs and your business needs, if you need that timeout to be extended by a bit more, you can do that. It just will require either your Genesys Cloud integrator or or you yourself directly to reach out to the Genesys Cloud customer care and then ask them to increase the limit on your org for the post utterance timeout. Lastly here, I think this is actually very, very, very powerful. It's opened up a whole new world of automation within the Genesys Cloud environment. What it is within the API set of Genesys Cloud, we can set up certain triggers to automatically watch for different events within Genesys Cloud and then trigger another action. So this is now gearing more towards workflows, and I'm pretty sure because they're now developing this within the API, eventually there'll be a UI component to it. But what it is within Genesys, you can configure it. You can configure this API to react to specific events. So think of it as if you set an after call work code and to something specifically, you can use this API to monitor that trigger and to monitor that action, and then trigger an event accordingly. So send an email or whatnot, right? So these are the particular triggers that we can monitor, and then we can do certain actions against those triggers. So that's opening up a whole new world of automation within Genesys Cloud. Notice here that you do need to be subscribed to Cloud 2 or Cloud 3 license tier. And that's September 21st release notes. So the very first one under the contact center module is cards for bot conversations and carousels for bot conversations. So first off, the cards. This is just Genesys web messaging tool catching up to a lot of industry standard features that customers expect in a web chat experience. So this one is just a card. So within the backend, you can design these quick reply cards, and then with the little image and learn more, chat with the barista. So depending on the website, you can pop open the web messenger and then present this card right away with a bit more detailed information. So very multi-graphic. The other one is the carousels. So similar concept, different cards, but now these cards are linked in a carousel and they can be scrolled back and forth. So imagine on your website here, and someone is browsing a particular service, and on that service's web page, the chatbot opens up and then tells the customer, hey, Mr. Customer, we actually have different blog articles associated to the service. Do you want to read some of them, or different use cases around that? How has your company actually serviced real world customers with that particular service? So you can develop it as let's, for example, a sales bot and using carousel and the cards as an example, right? So pretty cool feature. If you are using web messaging within Genesys, definitely look at those and reach out to Star Telecom, and we can help develop these cards and carousels for you. Manually assigned waiting interactions. So this is very, very powerful here. So under the queues activity, and then actually queue details. So if I go to drop in that details into one of these queues here, just give me a second here when it loads, and see if I have an interaction waiting. It appears that I don't. So if I go under one of these queues, and under the waiting section here, under the details, if there was an interaction waiting in here, I could click on the bean menu here on the right hand side here, and then manually assign it to either to myself as a supervisor or assign it to a different agent. So this is very good if your call center does get backlogged with interactions. You'll be able to start manually assign different interactions accordingly. So very, very, very good tool as a supervisor to manage the call center. Routing metrics added for a details view. So under the, let's say, queues performance here, there's now a whole plethora of routing columns that you can add to these interactions. And what that helps you to do is to help you better understand how routing is affecting those interactions, and make better decisions on, do I need to change my routing logic a little bit to help deliver the calls and interactions accordingly. Under the interactions view, there's now a fax column and filter, so you can filter for interactions that have faxes. if you're still using faxes out there. Who knew? Now Genesys has added the Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services text-to-speech feature interaction, so you can go ahead and integrate that. Okay, so that's it for September 28th release notes. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great day.